Hello and welcome back to Newsline, brought to you by People's TV. In today's news commentary, we bring you the latest developments from the Islamic Republic of Iran. The corrupt clerical regime has pushed its ruthlessness to the limit as protests enter their 9th day, with escalating attacks on demonstrators. Yet, the more brutal the regime becomes, the more determined and audacious the protesters grow, increasingly challenging Khamenei's forces and law enforcement personnel. Although the protests have yet to achieve their full goals, video clips circulating online capture Iranians boldly proclaiming and celebrating what they see as their imminent freedom. Many more videos remain unseen, as internet access in Iran is heavily restricted and the use of Starlink satellite equipment has been banned. In one striking clip, a woman removes her hijab and tosses it into a campfire while dancing openly outdoors, a courageous act in a country where public dancing and unveiling are strictly forbidden under the Ayatollah regime. Despite these severe restrictions on speech and self-expression, many women are defying the rules and risking severe punishment to protest publicly. Analysts warn that these acts of defiance carry immense personal risk. Should the protests fail, the regime is likely to hunt down and punish protesters, including the brave women openly challenging authority. In the meantime, questions arise about whether the United States might intervene in Iran, similar to its actions in Venezuela. Could the U.S. detain Khamenei? Could it launch a military operation using the protests as leverage, or even broker a regime change? Some analysts also speculate that the U.S. has effectively given Israel the green light to strike Iran. Based on recent statements by Benjamin Netanyahu, an attack on Iranian soil appears increasingly plausible. It should be noted, however, that the Iranian dictator and his regime fear their own population more than they fear the U.S. or Israel. Massive numbers of people have taken to the streets, continuing to destroy or seize government property, and even arming themselves to confront the armed forces directly. In the meantime, the New York Times, citing an intelligence report, has stated that unless Iranian security forces manage to suppress the protests, Khamenei, together with his son and designated successor, as well as the rest of his family, might flee to Russia, echoing Assad's flight there when al-Jilani captured Damascus, the capital of Syria. Nevertheless, U.S. intervention remains a possibility if the regime continues targeting and killing civilians. President Donald Trump has warned that he would take matters into his own hands should atrocities persist. He even issued the warning in Persian, adding weight to the threat and prompting further consideration. It is assumed that the regime may scale back its suppression to some degree in response to these warnings. Already, the government has put defense initiatives and infrastructure projects on hold and appears to have entered survival mode. So far, 19 protesters, and a soldier, have been killed as security forces open fire on the masses. Protests have escalated in Malik Shahi, with 5 of the deceased coming from that city alone. Despite the violence, the situation remains beyond the regime's control. A 15-year-old boy was killed, and rather than mourning his death in private, his mother joined the protesters, declaring that the corrupt regime of the so-called divinely appointed clerics cannot quell the public's resistance and determination. It remains doubtful, however, that the regime fully understands the gravity of the situation. Iran's foreign minister claims the protests are orchestrated by Israel and the U.S. and dismisses them as the destructive acts of a small minority. At the same time, Justice Minister Amir Hossein Rahimi has demanded harsher measures against demonstrators to protect stability, revealing the regime's deep fear of the uprising. These moves underscore just how severely the leadership is misreading the scale and resolve of the Iranian people. Instead of standing with citizens demanding their rights, the justice system is acting as a shield for the Khamenei regime, loyalty secured through privileges and patronage. The disconnect between the rulers and the masses has never been clearer. Even members of the Iranian diaspora in Arizona have taken to the streets to show solidarity with protesters in Iran. Meanwhile, Dutch politician Dylan Jesselgoes has stated that the international community must support the efforts of ordinary Iranian citizens against the corrupt clerical government. If global powers express widespread solidarity, it could provide a pretext for Israel and the U.S. to take military action against Iran. It remains unclear, however, whether such an attack would target Iran's intercontinental ballistic missile stockpiles or aim to effect a regime change. If this report helped you see the situation on the ground clearly, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to People's TV, where truth has no agenda, and facts speak louder than spin.
Subscribe us for more details.